Hello there, welcome back to another weekly vlog from Cloud with Chris. You're with me, Chris Reddington, and here we talk about all things cloud. Thank you for joining. We're a little bit later today. I've been busy focusing on a few things over the weekend, a bit of pet projects, so time escaped me. So here we are, 9:30 this evening, going live and doing our weekly vlog this week. So hope you're all keeping safe and well. We are going to be diving into the usual things that we dive into here. So the Azure update, the Azure blogs, and looking at GitHub blog, and then what's happened on Cloud with Chris this week, what's coming up with Cloud with Chris, and the things which are top of my mind here as well. So you know what to do. If you like the content, please go ahead, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and not just on YouTube, on many other platforms that you can go ahead and find on cloudwithchris.com. So with that, let's go ahead, jump over to the screen share. And that is the wrong screen share, so you get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes, which is always good. Let's go and switch that over to the right one. There we go. So we're going to be talking all about the Azure blog. Here we go. Let me just sort that out here. As we say, we are live today, so there's always fun things that happen when we go live, right? So over the last week, I guess things have slowed down a little because, of course, build was the prior week. So a lot of the blog posts were from builds the previous week there. But this week we've got a few updates here. So progress on Microsoft's commitment to sustainable backup power in data centers by 2030, which is, of course, is part of Microsoft's broader initiative and plan to address many different pieces with their carbon footprint there. Azure cost management and billing updates, a roundup for May 2021 there. We'll dig into that one in a moment. And then general availability of scale-out NVIDIA A100 GPU clusters. So big things there for anyone who's interested in HPC and supercomputers. Very interesting space. But let's just jump into the cost management and billing pieces, because there are some things which are worthwhile calling out here. Of course, the offering itself is continuing to expand there, so expanded support for cost allocations across APIs and downloads. Management group exports is now available in Azure Gov. The important one, I think, which is really notable for folks to know if you've been using Azure for some time, is that Cloud-In is retiring on June the 30th, so you'll need to make sure that you have a plan in place to deal with that, because that is not far away at all. They're looking for some help with usability there, with some various features, so go ahead, take a look at that, because the research team are going to be interested in hearing you. If you're interested in Azure reservations and saving features, who isn't interested in saving features? And then just a roundup of what's new, ideas to save money and these kind of things. So a good blog post to go ahead and check out if you are interested in the billing and cost management side of things. So then, in terms of this week, again, very quiet week in terms of the Azure updates, purely because build was last week, so that's where a lot of announcements came in here. But there was an Azure Site Recovery update roll-up, that's, well, rather a roundup for April. Not sure why that's in June, actually, if that was April. I'm now curious about that. Azure Security Center general availability updates for May 2021, so a bit of roundup there, as well as the public preview updates. I like that team do that every month. It's nice to see that. Azure API management, premium tier price reduction for incremental purchased units. So after the first purchased unit, so when you think about scaling out those API management units, there'll be a price reduction of 50% on all of those subsequent units. So that is a huge cost saving if you have been using API management at all. So definitely makes it a little more attractive there, I think. Azure Digital Twins Explorer is available in public preview. Public preview of identity-based connections in Azure Functions with the latest Azure SDK triggers and bindings. That one has been on the cards for a while. I think a lot of people have been eagerly anticipating and awaiting that one. Ironically, I've been doing a lot of work today with Azure Functions, and maybe I needed to go and have a look at the new SDKs, so I definitely should go take a look at those. So I will be taking a look at those at some point for sure. And I'll come back to what I've been building as well a little bit later. Now available pricing changes to Azure Sentinel and Azure Monitor to help you reduce costs. Azure Maps Creator is now GA. General availability of key rotation and expiration policies for Azure Storage. And then general availability of ExpressRoute Global Reach pricing reduction. So again, lots of talk about pricing reductions there, which is always good. I'm just curious about its key rotation and expiration policies. I hadn't had a chance to look at that one yet. So today we are launching a feature that will allow you to not only set key expiration date, but also add policies that can mandate anyone deploying storage endpoints to specify key rotation duration. Furthermore, you'll be able to monitor key expiration and set alerts if a key is about to expire. For accounts that are nearing key expiry, you can rotate the keys using APIs, CLI, PowerShell, or Azure Portal. So that's quite nice there in terms of key rotation. Good. In terms then of the Azure DevOps blog, we're going to rapidly go through things here today. Few things I wanted to update on the Azure DevOps blog from the past 2 weeks because we didn't cover it last week because of all the build announcements. So the first one is that there is some functionality in public preview. The copy dashboard functionality. So if you've ever had dashboards in Azure DevOps and you want to be able to copy one of those dashboards, you haven't really been able to do that in a nice, clean and easy way in the UI. Now you can. That option is now available through this copy dashboard experience. So great to see that in public preview. Azure DevOps Server 2020.1 is now in RTW, which I'm guessing is released to the wild. My brain on a Sunday evening can't decipher that, so any better suggestions in the comments, let me know. But either way, that is now available for you to go and use. Next up, and maybe it's released to web because it was RTM was released to manufacturer, so maybe that's what it is. But I like wild. That makes it sound fun. Anyway, next up, a couple of weeks ago, there was a session with Brendan Burns with Jay Gordon as part of the Azure Fun Bytes series there, talking all about containers, Kubernetes, and then some of the things on Brendan's mind there, about open source communities. Of course, back then it would have been reminders to register for build, but that's now happened, and lots of great cloud native stuff there as well. Security considerations with Kubernetes and much, much more. So lots of great things from that particular video. Go ahead, check that one out. And then a Fun Bytes episode all about introduction to Bicep. That is a blog post that I do want to write. Maybe that'll be one I write this week. We'll see, because last week was very heavy in terms of blog posts that I wrote up. So I may not do any/many this week, because again, this week's a busy week. More on that later. But anyway, yes, there's a Azure Fun Bytes intro to Bicep video here. So again, if you're interested in Bicep, worth taking a look. You can now go ahead and set policies to restrict the lifetime of personal access tokens and the scope of which they have as well. So if you're worried about too broad a scope for your personal access tokens, then this is definitely something worth taking a look at there. And I believe this is in preview. It doesn't quite say. Yeah, I believe this is in preview, but again, there's details in this blog post here to go and check that one out there as well. Then on the GitHub side, there are a few things. Again, we're going to go over the past 2 weeks of some of the noteworthy changes and updates. Number one was about how GitHub is adopting OpenTelemetry. And again, it's one of these engineering-based updates here about what's going on with GitHub behind the scenes. Love the fact that they talk about these types of things. Hopefully you'll be aware OpenTelemetry is a project of the Cloud Native Compute Foundation. So to see them adopting that and rather than building their own type of scenario, I think is a great way to go. So really interested to see how that progresses. Next up then, social impact. The GitHub team have like a Tech for Social Good page that has been revamped, I believe, or has been updated, and what they're doing there is wanting to just kind of publicize and show what they've been doing there. So I'm always really glad to see all of the different things the companies are doing in this space. So again, worth just keeping that on the radar if you, like me, are interested in those aspects as well. In terms of the availability report for May, a couple of things. There are a couple of outages. One lasting 9 hours 48 minutes, which was on May the 16th, so a few weeks ago. The other on May the 8th, lasting 46 minutes. The May the 8th one was a failure in an underlying MySQL database, which caused some operations to time out. And then the one which was a little longer was actually when a foreign key for scope tokens exceeded the maximum integer, which resulted in high failure rates for things like GitHub Actions and GitHub Pages. It sounds like it had some cascading failures there as well onto low-level Git commands as well. They, again, mention all the things that they're doing there to go and mitigate against that. So if you're interested, go ahead, take a read of that blog post as well. Next up then, GitHub Enterprise Server 3.1 is now generally available. So if you are running GitHub Enterprise Server, best to go ahead, take a look and look at upgrading your instance there. Release Radar, May 2021. This is kind of the roundup of all of the notable updates which are coming out from the community. So QuestDB 6, Adonis.js 5, Observable Plot 1, WaveSurfer.js 5, ScribbleTune 4, ListMonk 1, Clinic.js 9, Laravel Activity Log 4, Brightroom 2, Striker.js 5, Doom Capture, which I think is quite a fun way of playing on captures, right? And I believe that is it. Although they do call out, interestingly, they call out the fact that you can react to releases on GitHub. Sorry, I was reading the OBS Studio, which threw me because I updated OBS just before going live, which is also why I was a little bit late here today. But there we go, fun and games. Next up, you may remember that GitHub did a bit of a post around all of the things that they're trying to do with the community, just to get some insights with exploits, malware, vulnerability research, and what their policies are, and getting some insight from the community on how they think the policies and direction should be there. So they've gone ahead, they've closed the pull request and merged the latest revisions into the changes there. And what they do is they just explore those a little bit more. So again, if you're interested in their stances there, it's worth just refreshing yourself on that particular blog post here as well. I think that's about it for the blog posts and the updates this week. So let's go ahead, jump across to Cloud with Chris. So you probably sense us a little bit scattergun today in terms of this this weekly vlog. Normally I do a bit of prep in advance. I'll be honest, today I haven't. It's just been quite a bit busy with getting content out, with just focusing on bits and pieces and working on some pet side projects again to help out the overall channel grow and focus on things that need to be done. So it's meant it's taken a bit of time away from my normal prep, but again, conversational is not necessarily a bad thing anyway, rather than being a little more polished as it sometimes is. So the last week has been very, very, very busy. It started off on Sunday last week, of course, with weekly vlog 22, where we did the build recap. So again, if you're interested in what happened with build, go and check that out. Then on Monday, did a very long blog post all about securing app service with EasyAuth behind a public application gateway. Interestingly, I've started using tracking links and short URLs to start understanding where my users are coming from different mediums. So whether that's Reddit, whether that's Twitter, whether that's LinkedIn or Facebook or medium.com, dev2, random blog pages, so I can understand where my main entry points are to my site and start really focusing on the marketing. Because I'll be honest, the past year, 16 months I've been working on all of this, that is one bit I have really neglected, and it's something I'm really starting to focus on. So more on that later. Then on Tuesday released 2 blog posts. So told you it's a busy week. 2 blog posts relating to the build announcements, and I'm not saying they're like, hey, it was build, here's the announcements. These were hands-on, really deep, understanding some of the features and functionality that are worth knowing from build. And what I want to do is make a series about the Azure Arc for application kind of scenarios. So going from a Kubernetes cluster, making it Azure Arc enabled, installing app service for Kubernetes on it, and then deploying app services, Azure functions, logic apps onto it, also deploying things like event grid and API management onto it as well. So on Tuesday, I released part 1 and part 2. Part 1 was about setting up the Kubernetes cluster to be an Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes cluster. Part 2 was then installing app service for Kubernetes into that Azure Arc enabled cluster using the extensions of Azure Arc. But then on Tuesday evening, I was invited to the community roundtable, the AZ community roundtable, where I joined Martin Thurkelson and James Cook being the host. And that was inaugural, the first session of that. And it was my first Twitter Spaces, very fun. It was very strange not being on a camera and just talking instead, but enjoyed it. It was a good experience, so thank you, James, for having me. And folks, I'd encourage you to go and check that out because it's a really nice format. I can see that really succeeding once people start catching wind of it and following that. So definitely check that one out. Then on Wednesday, part 3 of that Using Azure Arc for Apps series. So this one was then about deploying Azure functions to the app service Kubernetes environment. Again, the thing about some of these is they are quite similar. There are a bit of overlaps in some of these different posts. I do quite clearly say where you can go ahead to previous posts to make sure you've got things set up. This one's a prerequisite for this, etc. But the main point I wanted to get to was comparing the platform as a service or the PaaS options to the kind of hosted in a Kubernetes cluster options. Also showing a bit of the behind the scenes for the Kubernetes folks who are interested as well, and what it means to actually go and run some of those pieces on Kubernetes. So that was the app service, rather the Azure Functions one, I should say. Also on Wednesday then, released a session about cloud gaming notes. That was our monthly session with Lee. This time we talk about building a game remotely. And also on Wednesday, a live discussion, a panel discussion, not a recorded discussion, I should say, but it was all about live or recorded demos. And that was on Techie Lass Sarah Lean, her particular channel there. So it was a great session. 3 of us there going ahead, talking all about our opinions on whether we should go live or recorded. And I'll be honest, I think we both came in different angles, going live, going recorded, and actually, I think by the end we were all fairly neutral and really focusing on the fact that regardless of the medium that you use, it's all about the story that you tell, it's all about the presentation skills and how you get across the points in the story that you're trying to tell. So really great session. Thanks for having me, Sarah. Enjoyed that. Really great discussion and loved being a part of it. Thursday was a little bit of a slower day, he says. I'm sure I was probably doing Cloud with Chris stuff that day anyway. But Friday then, 2 additional blog posts went out. One on deploying logic apps into your app services Kubernetes environment. And then another on deploying an Azure API management gateway to an Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes cluster. Had a couple of challenges with both of those, but I'm convinced that was due to my setup. So I need to go back and try those out, but I do call it out explicitly in the blog post. Because both of them were related to networking type pieces. I couldn't deploy my logic app to the environment, and I also couldn't access, I couldn't access the API through the gateway on the API management gateway, but I could see that it was deployed. So again, there were some strange things going on there, which I think were all to do with my setup. So I need to go back and take a proper look at that. But also on Friday, again, busy week. There was a session with a very good friend of mine, previous colleague, Glenn Small. We talk all about career and mental health, something really important to me. I mentioned on the show last week that this was quite an emotional one for me because Glenn was someone who was very much there for me when I needed someone there during my mental health challenges of last year. And talking through it was a bit emotional. It was like almost living it again in a strange way. But glad I did it. Glad we were able to share both of our stories because Glenn opens up about some of his challenges in the past as well. And just thank you, my friend, for joining. If you are listening to this vlog at all, Really appreciate it. Always appreciate our discussions, and looking forward to a good catch up soon. And that's about it in terms of what has happened. It's been a busy week. Hence, I'm probably going to put my foot off the pedal a little bit with the blogs this week. I think I might probably only do one blog, which will complete that Azure Arc for App series, just because I need to slow down a bit because there's a lot of recordings this week. So this week, of course, we've got the weekly technology vlog 23. That one is what you're listening to right now. Then tomorrow we've got another live stream. So Carl Cook is going to be joining, and he's going to once again take the hot seat. We're going to talk all about my GitHub Actions usage on Cloud with Chris. That will be very interesting because I just made some changes to my GitHub repo today. Didn't really plan that one very well because now I've got a Cloud with Chris organization. May have completely broke a lot of that, so we'll see how that goes. That'll be fun, and it will be live, so come along and join that one if you are interested in seeing how well I can do things on the fly. The session that I had scheduled for Azure Governance, I'm probably going to have to push back again. I apologize, folks. I just have not had a chance to look at that with all the other content I'm pushing out, so that one is going to be on the back burner. On Thursday, then, I am joined by Techie Lass herself, Sarah Lean, where we talk all about hybrid cloud, a bit of an update there, and talk about life as a cloud advocate as well, because one of the things about Sarah is Sarah's very kindly agreed to be like a mentor or a coach for me on my own journey towards this kind of DevRel space and this advocacy space. And what I figured is I have a lot of questions. A lot of people have questions, I'm sure. So let's have that discussion out in the public and have that discussion on Sarah's experiences as she's gone ahead and been through that journey there as well. Then on Friday, we are joined by a familiar face, Will Eastbury. We'll be talking about the geode pattern once again, but this time we'll be going hands-on, looking at some demos. So that one's going to be very fun and interesting. Very much looking forward to filming that one with Will. And then on Sunday will be next week's weekly vlogs, number 24. So busy times. I don't think we have anything in terms of talks this week. No, I apologize. We absolutely do. We have got on Wednesday the static web apps in Azure with DevRel.io again. So again, obviously that is a very passion area of mine, the kind of static web app space. So go ahead, check that one out as well, and come along and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're getting a couple of extra guests joining us, potentially Maxim as well. So yeah, come along and join us. And you'll notice as well on the website, by the way, just while I'm browsing it, that I've made some changes. So the talks page now, I'm trying to make it a little more colourful, let's say, and bringing in some of the badges or the logos of the different places that I've spoken at. When I look, for example, at I don't know, blog posts now, for example, if there's blog posts as part of a series, you get a nice navigation menu in between all of those different parts. If we go ahead to the bottom of a lot of these pages now, you will also see posts or content which is related to these other areas of the site. So there might be episodes, there might be blogs, but related to the content that you're viewing. I've spent a lot of time really planning this out thoughtfully, thinking about, or rather, really, to be honest, looking at the metrics from Google Analytics right now, where I'm doing well, where I'm not doing so well. So good news is the social media push that I'm doing across different channels, across different platforms is working. In March, I think I had around 500 or 600 users on the site. In May, I had 1,200 or so, 1,100, 1,200. So effectively double in the space of a couple of months, which is very, very pleasing. But I did notice the bounce rate was very high. Now, since adding some of these features and functionality, I'm already noticing the bounce rate is decreasing. So that means, you know, people are sticking around and viewing some of the content a little bit more. So I'm really focusing on how I make sure that once I bring users in, I capture them and make sure that they want to go ahead and keep viewing the rest of the content that is available. So as always, if you've got any suggestions on the website, what is going well, what is not going well, I would love to hear it. Please do let me know. because all feedback is good and I'm really on a journey with all of this. Something I did put on Twitter as well is I'm kind of thinking about doing a photo shoot at some point. Getting a professional photo shoot done to get some more photos and things for like a public speaker profile for my headshots, etc. Because my headshots are fine, but they're very corporate. They're very, they're very corporate, right? I'll leave it there. I want something which is a bit more representative of me, representative of the channel, a bit more fun. So that's why I've been thinking about thinking about that brand of me as well there. So again, if you've got any thoughts on that, I'd love to know. I didn't get much traction on Twitter on that question. So give me a shout and let me know. Now, one other thing that I've been working on here, and I'm just going to go and show you this for real as we go and take a look, is I've been working on my integration platform. So previously, I was using a bit of a mismatch of Teams, Power Automate, Microsoft Flow. Sorry, Power Automate is Microsoft Flow these days. Logic apps, number of different things to go and stitch together my integration platform. But the challenge was it wasn't really scalable. Like, it was very brittle. If I wanted to add a new platform, service, whatever, to go, maybe a new channel, maybe I want to schedule post immediately, maybe I want to send emails or a monthly newsletter or something like that with all of the updates of things that I've been putting together. It didn't scale, it didn't work, and I wasn't happy with it, and it has been on my to-do list for absolutely weeks, maybe even months to get that sorted. And finally, I had the time over this weekend to go and work on that. So I've been working on an end-to-end integration platform for Cloud with Chris. Probably sounds a bit overkill, I know, but to be honest, the thing that I always forget and I am rubbish at is posting about my content afterwards. I write it, it's there, but it's not discoverable. People don't know it's there. I need to tell people in a better way about it, right? So that is typically the problem I have with my content. So what I've been focusing on is building this integration platform, and I've been building it in such a way that it will be extensible in the future. It will be expandable. So yes, there will be a future blog post on it. No, it's probably not going to be this week because I'm not going to burn myself out. But it will be in the coming weeks. I can assure you of that because it's fresh in my mind right now. And what I'm doing is effectively a combination of Logic apps to go and watch my RSS feeds for my blogs and my episodes, sending some content to a table storage. I then have this web page, which is actually generated by an Azure function, goes and pulls all of that information, which is from the table storage. And then what I can do, this page is actually just a view app. So I can go ahead, add some actions, and you can see I can have different actions. So maybe I want to post immediately to certain platforms, for example, but I want to go ahead and schedule to others, perhaps. So schedule just somewhere in the backlog. And for my tweets and things, I actually use Buffer to schedule tweets, etc. So then I could also have another action, for example, for a roundup there as well. So like a weekly roundup of what's gone on and what platforms I want to go and send that one to, etc. Now, then what happens, and this is the bit I'm currently working on because it worked perfectly fine locally, but where I've got some authorization on my Azure Function apps in, obviously live, I don't want anyone to go and approve and post things on my behalf. I've encountering some issues there. So that's kind of what I'm debugging at the moment. But anyway, what it will do then is fire off a representation of this kind of object, the content and the series of actions to a durable function. That will then go and process a number of different things. The source URL will get converted into a short link. That short link has a number of tracking information pieces in it, like is it coming from Reddit? Is it coming from Facebook? You know, the UTM kind of tracking pieces that you commonly see on marketing links there. Having those pieces goes and injects those then into the message for me, and then goes and adds that to a service bus topic. And I have a number of subscriptions, one representing immediate, one representing schedule, one representing roundup, and then I have some logic apps which are listening to those different subscriptions then and going ahead and posting to the appropriate platforms and doing the appropriate things as needed. The only one I haven't done yet is the roundup because I'm still slightly battling with myself on the exact requirements for that one, so that one is a little bit in flux at the moment. But end-to-end serverless integration platform there, works really well, going to be extensible, easily able to go and add additional platforms in, and not as brittle as the platform I had previously. So I think there'll be a lot of interesting things for me to talk about on the channel at some point with that, because we've got things like end-to-end integration, end-to-end monitoring, things like role-based access control, authorization between the different APIs and the different endpoints. We have got serverless in there. Lots of that stuff could easily now go onto an Azure Arc enabled cluster as well, so I might even try that at some point. There's lots of things in there that I can do with this demo. It's not really a demo, it's something I'm personally using, right? And the code is out there. I have put the code on GitHub. I might restrict it at some point because part of me is toying with the idea. Could this be a software as a service? So, Jamie, eat your heart out. I have been thinking about you as I've been thinking about this and what you've done with kind of the Twitter posting and the Twitter followers, etc. there. So that is something that I have been thinking of. But nevertheless, that'll be something coming up soon. But just wanted to showcase why this particular vlog is maybe a little more haphazard than usual, because that has been the focus this weekend. So, I haven't not been doing anything. As you can see, I've been very busy and working on that. It's been a lot of fun getting quite deep into the development and the integration and overall solution architecture there. So, with that, lots going on, lots of progress. All is good. We will go ahead and start wrapping ourselves up here. So, wow, it's only when you start looking at some of these weekly vlogs that you realize actually how busy things are sometimes. So, you know what to do. You can see I'm extremely hard at work with the channel here and just try to broaden the reach, make the content more accessible, and once I've got those pieces nailed and out the way, continue making amazing content for you. So if you are listening in and you want to become a guest, I have got a pretty long backlog and I'm trying to slot in folks all over the place at the moment to try and make things work. I honestly really can't do anything until August or September, probably October, November in most cases. So you will start seeing a slowdown if you have requested to come onto the show, so I apologize for that. But there is lots of great content on the way. So you know what to do. If you like it, please go ahead, like the episode, subscribe to the channel. I'm now sat on 540 subscribers, so that's 460 away until getting 1,000. Can we do it by the end of the year? Only you know, because you are the holders of that button and clicking that on my behalf, so please do that. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, cloudwithchris.com, where you can go and listen to these recordings as well as reading the transcripts as well, and of course many blog posts on there as we've seen throughout this session. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. The fact that people engage, comment, whether it's on LinkedIn, Twitter, the YouTube videos, direct messages, whatever it is, just saying that these things help, that these things go ahead and give you interesting perspectives or insights is valuable, and this is why I do it all. So thank you for listening. Thank you for the support as ever. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until next week, have a great one. Bye for now.